program comes from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Every athlete is on this quest. Every performer dives in head first, battling real-life challenges and overcoming obstacles in an effort to make their dreams reality. Singer, songwriter, 15-year WWE host Lilian Garcia was the first woman to ever announce WrestleMania. And the first to launch her own podcast, which gives you an all-access pass to the human interest stories of elite athletes and extraordinary entertainers. Now, let's embark on another fascinating journey of chasing glory with your host, Lilian Garcia.
Wow. Welcome, everybody, to Chasing Glory. And I say wow because this is going to be a huge episode for many reasons. Of course, for my guest, Corey Graves, that's coming up, for big news that I actually reveal at the beginning of my interview with Corey Graves about Chasing Glory. And, well, yes, there is big news that is hitting the airwaves this week. Now, it is Saturday for me right now. I am pre-recording this so that you guys can get this first thing Monday morning. And according to the schedule right now, as it holds, I am making a major announcement on Monday. But I can't put that on this show right now because I have to give an exclusive to somebody else. This will all make sense later on. And if for some reason it doesn't come out Monday, it is definitely supposed to be coming out this week. Okay. I am stepping into a new chapter, and I'm just so excited that I get to take you with me because it is a continued journey, right? Everything evolves. If you're not evolving, you're not growing. And I just want to thank all of you for being with me. I want to thank you for, you know, the thing is, sometimes it is scary to step into something new. And because of you, the reason I want to thank you is because you're my support system. I always talk about how important it is to surround yourself with people that believe in you. People that when you're down, they like, no, you can do this, you can do this. Well, luckily, I have built that support system around me as far as a personal environment with my friends, with my family, my husband, my amazing, amazing husband. But you are part of that. You are a part of that, and I appreciate you so, so dearly. That's why I'm so excited to share this new journey with you, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen and how it all unfolds. And yes, I am stepping out of my comfort zone, but again, it is part of growing. This is what I keep preaching to all of you. You got to get past fear. If fear steps in, you have to rewrite fear. You know, fear has been said that it's false evidence appearing real. And I totally believe that. But I also say that fear is fake energy always robbing. That's right, because it robs you. It robs you of what you really, really want. And you make up all these stories in your head as to, well, I can't do that because this is the way it's going to look. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to rewrite what fear means to me. I'm going to make fear work for me. I'm going to give you an example. Rewrite it by saying, you know what? FEAR stands for freeing energy, always rejoicing. Or how about fierce, every day, always ready? Rewrite whatever those letters mean to you to make it work for you. And just step into it. Really lean into that fear and freaking go for it. You've got one life. This is it. Can you tell I'm fired up? I am fired up because I'm so excited about this opportunity. I'm so excited again to take you with me in this. I really appreciate the organization that has reached out. You will know all about it. Like I said, I can't break it here, but you will know all about it very, very soon. I appreciate them taking a chance on me. And this is going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun. All right, so today's episode, like I said, I'm also going to be breaking some news as I go into Corey Graves' episode. And again, that is because of you, the listeners. What I'm about to break today as well is because of you. So thank you. You are making the difference every single day. So pumped. So pumped. I hope you guys are pumped in your life. If you're not, make a change. Do something. Remember, you got choices. You get to choose how you want your life to look like. Step out of victimhood and just take the reins and go for it. Thank you to Cured Nutrition because they're sponsoring the show. They are the reason you're getting this for free. I am a big advocate as far as CBD products because I've seen the help that it has done so many people, including myself. So if you're suffering from anxiety, you're suffering from depression, you're suffering from sleeping, like not being able to sleep, in other words, Cured Nutrition can help you. They are a top company. I only allow sponsors on here that I 100% believe in. I will tell you more in detail about them later on in the show, but I do want to just let you know for now, go to curednutrition.com/glory. Make sure that you use the promo code GLORY and you will get 15% off your entire order. curednutrition.com/glory. All right. And thanks for following the show at Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram and also at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter and Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook, LilianGarcia.com as far as the website. And just remember that my name is spelled with one L in the middle. All right. Without further ado, this is someone I really love. He's such a great guy, and he opened up so much on this interview, things he's never revealed before. I think it's really going to help a lot of you out there, and it's going to help you to get to know him and understand him better. And so I just wish Corey so much success in his life because, man, he got thrown a curveball when he was going for a specific dream, and life said, nope. It's going to look a different way. And that happens to a lot of us. So if your life isn't going exactly the way you thought it was going to look, listen to this episode. Make sure that you spread it to some of your friends. At least tell 3 people. And let's get people to get help by listening to these interviews. All right, without further ado, here is Corey Graves' journey of chasing glory. A Pittsburgh native, Corey Graves is a shining example of not letting a major setback turn into a major failure. Being a huge wrestling fan since as far back as he can remember, Corey didn't think that being a pro wrestler was in his future. It wasn't until his father brought him to a friend's promotion where he realized that stepping into the squared circle was in the realm of a possibility. He would begin wrestling at the age of 16, and for the next decade, Corey would wrestle independently all over the world, squaring off against future WWE superstars such as Cesaro, AJ Styles, and CM Punk. He would even make several appearances as enhancement talent for the WWE, appearing on episodes of SmackDown and Sunday Night Heat. WWE finally took notice and signed Corey Graves to a developmental deal in August of 2011. He would be an important figure in the rebranding from Florida Championship Wrestling into NXT, and alongside Neville would become one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions. When NXT would debut on the WWE Network, Corey was able to showcase his skills to a much wider audience and was on the verge of superstardom when unfortunately injuries permanently derailed his in-ring career. After suffering multiple concussions, Corey Graves was forced to retire from in-ring activity, but it led him to find his new passion. Triple H would offer Corey a full-time contract to do commentary for NXT, which he fell in love with very quickly. He would receive rave reviews behind the desk and would also host multiple shows on the WWE Network. After the 2016 WWE Draft, Corey would be promoted to join Monday Night Raw commentating team, and a year later would also join the SmackDown Live commentating team, making him the only current announcer to be on both shows. Outside of wrestling, Corey is a professional piercer and has a love for tattoos and even wrote a monthly column for Alternative Press. He even had a hand in training his younger brother, Sam Adonis, who has been turning heads wrestling down in Mexico. Corey is the prime example that when a door gets closed, you knock down another one. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Corey Graves. All right, I am so excited to have this gentleman on the show. Corey, I'm telling you, welcome to Chasing Glory.
Thank you for having me. I have a lot of friends, obviously, that have been on the show,
Yes.
so I feel like I finally get to join the party.
That's that. Oh, I love that. Join the party. I love it. The Chasing Glory party. That's what we're kind of having here, but we're changing lives through it, which has been really inspirational and very something that I didn't know to what degree the show was going to get to. But Corey, I want to let you know that we're making a big announcement today. And the fact that you get to be on this show with this big announcement, I'm so excited because you're somebody that I've wanted to have on the show for a very long time to get your Chasing Glory story. But we have just surpassed 6 million downloads.
That's insane. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Woo! So thank you for helping me celebrate this. So excited. And it is because of all of you and the rest of the guests that have been on my show that have been so real, raw, and what we call inspiring here with your stories. And I want to get right into your story, actually, because
let's do it.
You are someone that actually came into this whole game wanting to be a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And then life threw you another curveball.
Life happened, yes. A curveball right to the side of the head.
Yeah. So I wanted to start with the fact that we're going to get to, I want to know who you were as growing up and everything like that. But take me to what it was that, first of all, even turned you on to wrestling.
I grew up a fan. My dad was a massive wrestling fan. He grew up watching Bruno Sammartino and all the way back to those days. So as long as I can remember, we watched wrestling together. They're all the oldest photos of me from the time I was, 2 or 3 years old. I always had Hulk Hogan toys, and I mean, I grew up obsessed with it. And it was, I guess I could blame my dad for that.
Blame your dad. I love that. So what was your transition into finally getting into wrestling? How old were you?
So I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I was going through the typical crisis that every teenage kid has. Like, what am I going to do with my life? Do I want to go to college? I decided the solution to all of my woes was to get my tongue pierced. And I told my dad that that's what I needed to do to really be happy. And he looked at me like I was ridiculous. And he was like, why don't you do something creative? Do something with your time. It's not getting your tongue pierced. He was like, go be a bodybuilder or learn to box or learn to wrestle. And I went, okay. Oh. And he had since admitted to me that when I said okay to that, he was sort of freaked out because he had no idea how to make that happen.
Wow.
He was just throwing stuff against the wall to try to make me feel better. Yeah. And I went, okay, let's do that. And here he had a connection with a local wrestling promoter in Pittsburgh through the fire department because my dad was a fire chief. So they would do fundraisers with this wrestling promotion. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of bent the rules a little bit and allowed this 15-year-old kid to start training. And I trained in the back of a store in an old abandoned shopping mall.
Oh, wow.
There was no heat, no air conditioning. It was as awful as you would love it to be. And I did everything. I'd show up and build the ring, and then I got to be a referee. And I just, I'd been wrestling for seemingly ever by the time I was legally allowed to wrestle at 18. So yeah. I had a lot of experience under my belt there.
So you would say that you definitely had to have a love. If you're wrestling and showing up in a situation like that, there's nothing posh of it. And you're with no air conditioning, no nothing, sweating to death. But you loved it that much.
It was terrible. I mean, it's sort of like, I kind of romanticize it now because like with the WWE Performance Center, it's so different. There are people that have never stepped in a ring and they get to this incredible building and they've got all the amenities and everything you could possibly want. And then it's kind of, I'm still that old school where it was like, oh yeah, we didn't get paid. We got beat up just because we were new, and yeah, training in, 30-degree weather. There was no heat in Pittsburgh. Wow. Right. That was not fun, but I think it kind of proved to myself that was what I wanted to do because I was willing to put myself through that.
What was it that you were like, I love this. I mean, I really love this.
I always enjoyed as a wrestler, the sort of instant gratification of being a heel, being a bad guy. Because, a lot of people got off on having the crowd chant their name or screaming for them and the attention and the adulation. I'm not going to say I didn't like any of that, but what always really gratified me was being the bad guy in the story, being beaten, and the minute the referee counts 3, I can lay there and take it in, whether it be in front of 50 people or, in a bigger crowd. Once I got to WWE or around the world, it was just instantly like, wow, we did it. As opposed to, if you win the match, you have to celebrate, or you have to mug for the cameras or do whatever. I love that. Okay, 3, exhale, we did it. And that was always what did it for me.
What a beautiful perspective. I have never heard anybody talk about that side of it. Like you said, most people, they're into you win. They want to win. They want to feel that rush and jumping up on the ropes and getting the adulation, adoration of all the people around and the applause. And you're sitting there on your back, just soaking it in.
I'm kind of, weirdly enough, a little bit shy in person. I think some people probably take that as like me being a jerk, but I'm just sort of, I've never been the most outgoing person. So I guess that translates to my view of competing in the ring. But I also think it's what lends itself to me doing what I do in commentary, is I'm not the focus of anything.
Right.
It's my voice, and I'm telling the stories, but it's not about me. So I feel, I don't know if safer is the word. It's like, I get to have the interaction and be part of it, but at no point do I feel like all eyes are on me. Like I get more nervous during an on camera than calling the main event at WrestleMania. Like it's strange. It doesn't make sense actually, considering it's a performance art and in front of people, and it's all about being, a star of some sort. I can't really explain it. That's just kind of how I am, how I'm wired.
But you have joined the club of the people that I have interviewed on the show. Batista, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Seth Rollins, all talk about that being an introvert, the shyness, the having just a few friends, all of that. So yet they picked a profession of just being larger than life characters.
Right.
That's interesting. So
ironically, Seth's one of my closest friends in WWE. It makes sense.
There you go. It makes sense. Did you ever know that about him, that he was an introvert?
I used to travel with him a lot. I mean, I'd known him back from the Independence years ago, and we'd only see each other once in a blue moon. We always just kind of had a cool rapport. And then when I got to FCW at the time, it was pre-NXT, and he was there, and he was kind of the closest thing that I had to really a friend of any sort, just being that we sort of knew each other, and he kind of showed me the ropes and kind of taught me how to stay afloat there for, until I got comfortable. And then, I mean, he and I and Ambrose and Juice Robinson would ride together all over every show every week. So, I mean, I got to know all those guys really well, except for Ambrose, because he's still like just does his own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's the super, super, super introvert.
He absolutely is.
Yeah. But did you and Seth ever have those conversations of being an introvert or shy?
I think it's just more of an understanding.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why we got to bond like we did, and why we're close and comfortable with each other, because you just kind of get it. It's a guy thing. You don't necessarily talk about feelings all that often. But
I hear you.
I think that's probably why we kind of exist so well together.
Yeah. Well, tell me then, going back to your childhood, who were you in your childhood? Brothers, sisters, parents together? Like, where did you grow up?
I am the oldest of 4 kids.
Okay.
I have a sister, and then I have a younger brother who's also in the wrestling business. He's currently in Japan. Right before you called me, he was trying to get me to FaceTime him, because it's I think 2:00 in the morning over there. So he's having himself a time right now.
Oh, wow.
And then I actually have a younger sister who I love her, but I don't know her really that well, because she was born later in my life, to where I think I moved out of the house when she was like a year or 2 old.
Wow.
So it's always just kind of been, I love her to death. I don't get to see her very often, but it's kind of just a weird relationship. Not that there's nothing negative about it. It's just like I grew up with my other 2 siblings, and then Sydney came along at such a different point in my life that I was already, making my exit plans, trying to live my own life. And it was like, oh, by the way, here's your new sister. So it's still kind of,
that's understandable.
I really look forward to getting to hang out with her now. I mean, she's an adult now. It's crazy that when I see her, it's like, wait a minute, you in my mind are still this little tiny baby, but
because what is it, 18 years apart?
It was, I think it's about 17.
17 years apart. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. So that's understandable.
Yeah. So it's like I said, I look forward to seeing her now. It's still kind of new. It's like I still get to learn things about her. She came up and visited me on my birthday a few months ago, and we went to dinner. And she's like a makeup artist, and she's going to cosmetology school, and she's got all these jobs. Like she is a workhorse, and it's awesome to see. But it's like so intriguing to me to get to know her, and it's because I'm still learning. You know what I mean? You would think this late in life, a sister, you would be like, you would know each other so well, and I'm still always learning these things about her, which is really cool.
That is interesting. All right, so go ahead with your parents. Were they together?
Yeah, my parents are still married to this day. My dad, by trade, is a fire truck dealer. That's what he. People go, what? If you ever asked yourself where fire trucks come from?
True.
Yeah.
Wow, never thought of that.
Yeah, no, most people don't. They go, wait, your dad sells fire trucks? Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom she's for the majority of my life, she's been a 911 dispatcher.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up in like the emergency services sort of world. I was an EMT at one point.
Were
in
you
high
really?
School. Yeah. My plan, I was going to go be a paramedic. And my whole senior year of high school, I had like an internship where I would go to school for a couple periods and then go work on an ambulance just outside of Pittsburgh. Wow. And I did that for a while and I loved it, but I learned like that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Why?
But it just wasn't for me. It was honestly, it was as exciting as it could be at times. It was really boring because about 80% of your calls are like some old guy who forgot to take his medicine and he thinks he's dying now.
Yeah.
And you have to go, oh no, Mr. Smith, did you take your medicine? And it's, really pretty uneventful. But then every once in a while, I got to see some pretty wild things working on the ambulance. It was definitely some experiences. And then from there, I actually worked at 911 as a dispatcher.
Wow.
Later on in life, I left that whole world for a little while. I was working in a tattoo shop. Imagine that.
I was just going to say, you tattoos?
Yeah, it was, and I was a body piercer for about 7 years. And it's funny because it all goes back to that story about my dad not letting me get my tongue pierced. Of all the modifications I've made to myself over the years, I have never pierced my tongue.
Wow. Is it out of respect to him?
Not really. I think I just kind of grew past it. But I think like subconsciously, it's always kind of there. And it's a funny story that I've done all this wacky stuff to my flesh, but my tongue is still intact. But yeah, I worked in a tattoo shop for a long time. Loved that. Ended up meeting my now ex-wife, and she was pregnant. So I needed to have a real job because I had a baby on the way. Wow. So I went and got the job at 911 for the city of Pittsburgh. And that was what I was doing up until the day that WWE called me.
Wow. So how much were you wrestling before that? Because you said you wrestled a little bit?
I know I wrestled. I mean, on the independents, you wrestle when you can, as frequently as you can.
Throughout.
Yeah. I mean, I never really stopped especially when I turned 18, it's like anything you break in and you're trying to just get work and get experience and get exposure. And this was even like in the kind of early days of the internet where it wasn't now like some guys will get made because they'll have a match that's streamed online and it's easy to get your name out there now.
Right.
Back then, if it weren't for a few little message boards, you still used to have to send out tapes to promoters and say, "Hey, would you check out my stuff? Hope you would get booked." Now, that's one of the ways the internet's actually helped our business is like the connectivity of it is otherworldly compared to when a lot of us broke in.
Right.
I say a lot of us like I'm some sort of old timer when before there's still guys that are around that had it way worse than I did. But and then I got the opportunity I did a lot of work in England. I went to Japan. I did death matches in Japan, which was an accident. Wow. I didn't realize until I got there that they wanted me to do death matches.
Oh my God.
So I did it for.
I mean, I would think you with all the tattoos and everything like that, you were like, cool.
I mean, I wasn't really, I had the ability to wrestle, I mean, I went over there and there was a lot of guys that were just like, hey, let's hit each other with panes of glass and stab each other with pitchforks and all that crazy stuff. But it was fun. I did it. I don't regret it. I have some pretty cool photos and I had a great experience. I was in Japan for about a month and I lived over there and got to learn the culture a little bit. And it was one of the best experiences of my career. But that said, I'd much rather not be beaten up by, inanimate objects. And I just was trying to get my name out there. I had to try out with WWE back in like the OVW days.
Oh, wow.
So this was like way back when.
Yeah.
And I was always on their radar, and they would call me to be an extra when we were in town. And I just, for whatever reason, could never get that final push to get the contract. And then finally, kind of out of the blue, I'd more or less given up on the dream. I was working at 911, had a solid job, and just started a family. And I went, okay, I guess that's just not going to happen. And I went to TV as an extra just because I was like, I can use the money. And my days off from 911 were Monday and Tuesday. So I was like, well, I'll go do Raw, go do SmackDown. And the guy who was in charge at the time went, hey, you look great, which is weird. It was as normal as I had ever looked. I'd let my hair grow out a little bit. I, lost some weight. And next thing I know, I got a call like a few weeks later, and they said, hey, we want to offer you a contract. And I was like, whoa, crazy.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, before we even leap there, though, it really sticks in my mind when we were talking about you being shy. Here you are, the older brother. Usually the older one, from what I have found, isn't the shyest one. Do you know what made you so shy?
I don't think there's really anything I could pinpoint. I mean, I'm pretty responsible as far as, I get that older brother role. Like I kind of keep my stuff together fairly well, but my parents were always around, and my mom was like the hardest working person on the planet Earth. So she kind of made sure we all stayed in line. I don't know. I've told people about my tattoos. I got them more for people to stay away from me than to be drawn to me. I think,
but that makes sense with you being shy. You're like,
right.
Really, don't approach me.
Yeah, I was like, I want to look like that guy that you don't want to talk to. And now it turned out, quite the opposite.
Do you know what it means to you if somebody does want to come up? Like, what are you protecting?
I don't know. I don't think. No, and I haven't really searched too hard to figure that out, I guess. I don't know. There's nothing that I'm aware of that I'm running from. I'm sure there's some psychiatrist that could really pick me apart and pinpoint it. But
have you ever wondered?
No, I don't really pay it any mind. I just I am the way that I've been for 35 years. So, I guess, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I've gotten to this point without having any sort of issues with it. But at the same point, it's like, I kind of like it that way. I like to be able to escape the spotlight or the world. I get absolutely driven crazy when I walk into a hotel after a TV show at 3:00 in the morning. Sorry, my phone's going crazy.
That's okay.
And there are people waiting there for you.
Yeah.
And I understand it and I appreciate it, like that you're that passionate and you're that big of a fan. But to me, the hotel is the closest thing I have to home while I'm on the road.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I were to come home after a week on the road and someone was standing outside of my front door,
right,
I'd be like, this is a little weird. And I get it. It comes with the territory, but that's one of the things that I've never been drawn to. Like I'll take photos with people because I feel obligated to.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Right.
Not at the airport at 4 a.m. or at the hotel lobby at 2:00, but it's never been a thing that I enjoy. Like it's still weird to me that anyone gets excited to meet me. Like I do these meet and greets, and I just don't look at myself that way. Like I'm in my mind, I'm still just a dude from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But obviously I understand it comes with the territory. It's the role that I'm in, and it's WWE. It's this very visible company, and it's strange to me. I just do what I do.
Well, because you're always going to be inside of you seeing the kid who's had struggles and the kid who's not necessarily wants attention. So that's always going to be inside of you. And then all of a sudden you get all these people who are like, oh, I want your autograph. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Like, why? What did I do?
Yeah. So I totally get it, because that's the thing about when we talk, with each other on the show, with all the guests that I've had. And then the fans listen to the show. They go, wow, my superstar just became human. And
right.
I appreciate that, because I never saw them in a human way with their own struggles and what they've endured and things they still go through. And the fact that they still have to deal with life issues just like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that people forget is no matter how much, attention you get on TV or movies or anything like that, it's still the bottom. At the end of the day, you're a human being.
Right. Right. And I never consider myself like a celebrity, and I still see, big time celebrities like The Rock or any sort of Hollywood celebrity. They go, oh, they make so much money and they must have the best life. But you go, wait, but The Rock can't go to the supermarket.
Right.
The Rock can't go to McDonald's with his kids and watch, and have a meal.
Yeah.
So like you, it's all balanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's making an exorbitant amount of money, but
What did you
there's
give
a
up
reason for it, Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like being in the commentary role is kind of like the perfect blend of both of those worlds for me, because I'm only famous to WWE fans, which is cool. You know what I mean? So like I can go be relatively normal and take my kids out and not have to deal with being mobbed all the time.
Right.
So that's kind of cool, but I wouldn't want any more visibility than I already have.
I get you on that, because even Lady Gaga talked about how she wishes that she could go to Starbucks and just get a cup of coffee. She's like, even just a cup of coffee. She goes, people don't realize that I'm kind of trapped. And she goes, I love what I do and didn't realize how much freedom I was going to be giving up for it.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And again, that's a much grander scale than we're dealing with here. You know what I mean?
I'm right there with you. Well, then that leads me to the fact that when you were wrestling, and I mean, you won the tag team championship at NXT. I mean, things were definitely on the rise for you. I was even seeing, here's what I was seeing. I don't know if other people are mentioning it, but I saw you, and I don't like to say the next, but it's almost like when I had Aleister Black, I could see hints of the Undertaker in him.
Sure.
And, right? You can see that. And he's like, I'll never be the Undertaker. Like, the Undertaker's the Undertaker, and I'm just the next Aleister Black. And I totally get that.
Right.
But I still see hints of certain people. When Shawn Michaels, you see hints of that in Dolph Ziggler. And there's nothing wrong with that. I saw hints of CM Punk in you.
Which is ironic. I get that a lot. I always got that. He and I, up until semi-recently, were always really, really close friends. He actually held my firstborn kid before I did.
What?
I was in Spain. I knew my son was going to be born, and it became, okay, do I go take this tour of Spain and make money to support my child, or am I actually in Pittsburgh for him being born? Punk was actually in town getting surgery, I believe, of some sort in Pittsburgh. And he buzzed me and was like, hey, do you mind if I go, see your kid? So we were like super tight. And I learned a lot from him, and, different paths happen and different career choices are made. And he and I don't, we don't speak anymore, but it's, I don't never take that as an insult when people say that they saw me in him, because he helped me a lot through my career.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you sorry that you weren't there now, like looking back for your son?
No, I'm not. And I say that with certainty because I've been there for both of my daughters being born. So I got that moment, and it was incredible. But I now am in possession of a newspaper article with his birth date on it in Spain. It was the front page of the sports section. Me against Gangrel, the vampire, in a bullfighting arena in Spain.
Whoa.
With Cash's birthday on it. So I was like, you know what? Daddy wasn't there for when you were born, because I was fighting vampires in Spain in a bullfighting ring. So it's a much cooler story than like, oh yeah, I remember when you were born and I cried, because everyone has that story.
Right.
So I laugh about it now.
How old is he?
He'll be 11.
Okay, so has he seen the paper?
Oh yeah, he knows about it now, and so he's in on the joke. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, he doesn't exactly harbor any ill will. It wasn't like,
Yeah,
he was just being born. So
right, 3 kids now.
3.
How is that for you? Well, before we get into that, I was going to say about the fact that you were holding titles and all. When the injuries started coming, how was that before you knew that you couldn't wrestle? Like, what was that like for you mentally?
It was just frustrating. I had gotten to the point where, I was pretty successful in NXT. We had the tag team titles. I came up at the same time as all 3 members of the Shield, Bray Wyatt, all these guys who are like a who's who now. That was kind of my class. Yeah. We all came in together roughly. And it was frustrating to me that I'd get these injuries and I didn't even think anything of them. I didn't even know the extent of and how dangerous concussions were. I had 4 diagnosed in a year in WWE.
Wow.
But I have no idea how many I had before then. Now knowing what we know, that anytime you get your bell rung, it's probably a concussion.
Right.
So, I mean, over the years that I traveled the world and wrestled on the indies, I mean, I had that happen more times than I could possibly count. So it was annoying to me. Like, oh, I got another concussion. All right, well, now I'm not allowed to wrestle. And I couldn't wait to take the impact test and get, clear and get back in the ring, because I felt like I was like right there on the cusp. I was hearing rumblings. I was doing live event tours with the main roster. I'd come up and wrestle with them. So, I mean, I don't feel like I could have really gotten much closer without actually, debuting on WWE. And I mean, I had conversations about, having entrance music written for me. And it was right there, at least to my knowledge. And so the injuries were just annoying. They were just like hindrances. It wasn't even really a problem. So that's why I was shocked the day that they told me that I wasn't allowed to wrestle anymore. Like it blew my mind and it broke my heart all at once, because it was like, I was just waiting to get cleared. I was like, why, what's taking so long? Why here? I took all your tests. I feel fine. And then it was obviously the extensive testings showed that they saw some things that they didn't like. But
so what was that moment? Can you remember what was going through your mind?
It was, I will never forget. It was, I would argue the worst moment of my life we were at the Performance Center, and Triple H, who was, the boss, he was there, and I'd been on the shelf for a few weeks, and I was just like, man, I don't know what's taking so long. And I remember talking to the doctors and saying, hey, when can I get back in? And they said, oh, we're just waiting to see some things. We're waiting on some tests. And so I couldn't get a straight answer from anybody. So I walked up to Hunter, and he was in the middle of a workout, and I was passing through the gym, and I said, hey, boss, do you have any updates or anything? And I don't think he was prepared at that moment to tell me, but he didn't want to sugarcoat anything, and he just kind of blurted it out in a way that I think I caught him off guard. So he didn't have a gentle way of telling me. He was just kind of like, I would expect the worst. And he was trying to justify it, but you could tell he wasn't ready for that in the moment. But he didn't want to lie to me. So I respect that. Right. And it was like the whole world came crashing down on me. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was going to burst into tears. I didn't want to cry in front of anybody else. Yeah. So I made a beeline out of the gym up to the locker room, and William Regal was in there. He was standing there, and I walked in and I broke down, and I told him, and he just stood there and hugged me. It wasn't like he had anything he could tell me that was going to make, essentially like my dream just came crashing down in like a moment's notice. Right. And he was there for me and consoled me to the best that he could. And by that point, I was panicked, because I don't know what to. I've worked my whole life to get to this point. Yeah. Now I can't do it anymore. Like, what the hell am I going to do? I have a family to support. I've, sacrificed everything in my life to be here. I'm right here at the cusp, and now it's gone. And like, that's a lot to fathom in one moment, Yeah. And luckily I had a lot of people, friends and coaches that were around that tried. I remember Bill DeMott was the coach at the time, and he said, hey, do you want to go home? Do you need to take some time off? And I went, the last thing I need now is time off. Right. Because you're just going to sit and brew. Yeah. Yeah. So I jumped into everything. So a few weeks went by. We had some conversations about, what I was going to do. They weren't going to just release me. It wasn't like I did something wrong. It was just like, just a crappy situation. So essentially they gave me the keys to the kingdom and said, hey, figure something out. And I went and tried anything and everything. I started running the music at the NXT live events, like learning the production end of things. I was helping out Dusty with promo classes, and it turned out to be one of the best blessings in disguise. I got taken out of the ring, but for the better part of a year, basically stood side by side with Dusty Rhodes all the time. So I got to spend countless hours with him and get to know him and learn. I probably learned more after getting shut down from wrestling, just from the time I spent with Dusty, about the business and characters and just life. I credit Dusty with getting me into like old movies. He would start talking about, he's telling me about James Dean. He goes, that was Dusty's favorite, was James Dean. And he said, baby, you got to watch Giant. And I'm okay. Yes, sir. Go home and watch it. And it just kind of put me down a rabbit hole of like old school movies and things. But
and they're awesome.
yeah, the absolute best. But so that was one of the coolest things, was getting to become, pretty close with Dusty over that period of time. That was one of the bright spots. But yeah, I tried anything and everything. I mean, I was helping guys pick entrance music on the computers, and that's credit to having the performance center around at the time was really cool, because I had under one roof all these different aspects of our business that I never thought about. I was a wrestler. I was concerned with wrestling and cutting promos. That was that's all I need. Right. But then you realize the production that goes into what we do, and all the different avenues, and how important that is, sometimes even more than the in-ring ability. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what makes the greats truly great. Someone like a Randy Orton or even Roman Reigns, they spend so much time making sure that cameras pick them up.
Yep.
And because there might be 15,000 people in the arena, but there's 3 million at home watching. So to be able to translate that's what makes the greats truly great. There's guys that can go out there and do any maneuver on the planet Earth, that they're spectacular athletes, but you don't think about that end of the business, which I was guilty of that as anybody, until I wasn't able to do it anymore. So it's pretty fascinating, the things I got to learn.
Wow. Well, kudos to you, though, because a lot of people, when this situation happens, they will crumble. They will go into the pity party, and they won't get themselves out of victimhood.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There was definitely a bad period of my life.
I'm not saying you're not going to cry at all. I'm not
sure. Yeah.
You got yourself off the ground eventually.
Yeah. It was out of necessity. I had a family to take care of, and I worked so hard to get to that point. I wasn't going to let the whole dream kind of die.
How long would you say? You said it was a couple weeks?
As far as what?
Before you went ahead and started working on the music, and before you were like, okay.
I would say like maybe a weekend.
A weekend.
Like I went home for like 2 days, and I just went, I gotta go do this.
Dude, that's not a pity party. That's like that's like a pity bath. You just had a bath. No, there's people that will spend years. That's what I'm talking about. They waste their lives. They waste the transition. They're just so in my life had to look this way. And because it didn't look this way, that's it. I'm shutting down. And what I love is that you're teaching right now that when life throws you a curveball and adversity like this, and it doesn't end up looking the way you thought it was going to look, okay, well, let's turn over here to this side. What's over here? And that's huge.
Yeah, it was, and I was miserable for a long time. I mean, those closest to me know, like I was a monster at times. I was depressed. I was angry.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was out of necessity. I needed to figure something else out. It wasn't like I had like a backup plan.
Right.
That's some terrible advice for anyone that aspires to be wrestling. Have a backup plan. I didn't have one. I just happened to land on my feet.
Yeah. But you had an attitude, a good attitude of, I'm going to make the best of this. However, it's understandable that you also kicking and screaming throughout it and being like, upset. Of course.
Sure.
You wouldn't be human. But you still push through.
This is Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
Sorry, guys, to interrupt this fascinating interview, but I just have to let you know about something that is benefiting so many people. Thank you all for letting me know how much it is helping you, because that makes it worth it for me to have them sponsor the show, because it's making a difference. Cured Nutrition, that's what I'm talking about. You're telling me how much it's helping you sleep, how much it's helping you with anxiety, how much it's helping you with stress, just with overall life in general, with recovery between workouts, creativity, mind boosting. I'm talking about CBD. CBD has shown to have so many health benefits, which is why I like to tell you all about it. And last week, I told you all how it helped my dad when he was going through bladder cancer and dealing with so much pain and inflammation in his body, and how regular medication was just making things worse. And with this, he was able to chill and not have as much pain as he was suffering before. So of course, I'm going to be a big advocate of this product. Cure Nutrition also is one of the top companies, which is why they are sponsoring Chasing Glory, which is why I have them on here. So let me quickly just tell you what you can expect in some of their products. They have these new products called Rise and Zen. One is to be used during the daytime and one is at night. The Zen, of course. Self-explanatory, but let me tell you what's in it, because that's not self-explanatory, and it is incredible. All the benefits that you will get, let's say, from the Rise. It's got lion's mane in there, cordyceps, vitamin B complex, a microdose of Colorado CBD. It is also combined with ginseng, with rhodiola. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Anyway, it's a lot of great products in there that help with your energy boosting. So yeah, it's kind of like a good cup of coffee. Your brain cells. It also helps with your memory. Who doesn't want that? You need those energy boosters so that all day long you can just be so productive. It also boosts your immune system. And it's got those essential antioxidants. And like I mentioned, it enhances your creativity. So check that out, as that's the Rise product. And the Zen product has reishi. It has a blend of skullcap. It's got passion flower. It's got chamomile, magnesium, and a heaping dose of CBD to calm you down. So it definitely helps you sleep better for sure. And it's got that adaptogen that I told you about, the reishi, which is a mushroom. All these benefit you to be able to reduce stress, anxiety, all the things that kind of keep you up in the middle of the night. Yes, or sometimes don't help you go to sleep. Remember that Cure Nutrition has their products as tinctures, as nibbles, edibles. Also, they have the oils. The oils are great. You can put them in beverages or you can put it right underneath your tongue. They even have the treats or the oils that you can give to your animals if your animals are suffering from anxiety, if they're suffering from seizures. CBD can definitely help. So, to get your 15% off to all my Chasing Glory listeners, just go to curednutrition.com/glory. Make sure that you use the promo code GLORY to get 15% off. That is more than the actual website is even offering. So that's all my Chasing Glory listeners. curednutrition.com/glory with the promo code GLORY for 15% off. You're going to feel so much better and you're going to thank me for it. And again, just keep letting me know. Keep sending those tweets to me and let me know how great it's helping you. Okay, so let's go back to the show with Corey Graves.
Now, more Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
What I wonder now, the fact that you are still so close to the product, it's not like you left and you became the manager of a hotel, okay, where you're completely gone from it. You are watching people night after night that are living out their dreams, that went after it, they got it, they're living out their dreams. How is that for you at ringside? Does that still bother you? Does it still, like, how's it been?
Very rarely does it bother me anymore. It's not to say I never get moments where I'm like, oh man, I could do that. Or I wonder what that feels like, because I was right there and never quite got that. But I think I've grown into this role enough now, and it does help me being with my friends. As far as, Seth and Roman and when, like, we just recently did the Shields last ride, and those were my guys. We used to ride together. I've kind of come up with them. They were on the main roster before I was, but like as friends, those are three of my favorite people in the business. So it kind of lends itself to what I do now, because I can be truthful and kind of share in that moment. And now I'm just kind of playing the soundtrack for it rather than, it's not about me, but I'm still part of that. Like after the Fastlane pay-per-view, Rollins got out of the ring and came over and gave me a big hug and said some really cool things to me. It'd be really special for me forever, because it was just like that nod, that acknowledgement from my peers, from my guys was pretty cool.
Can you share what he said?
No, I can't. Off the top of my head, I don't exactly remember verbatim. It was very nice, and it was an acknowledgement. And
that's
I'm sure
awesome.
there were a few expletives sprinkled in there, but in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It was cool, like to get lost in the moment, in the emotion of, I can live vicariously through them in certain moments now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just get to. I'm living it from a different point of view now.
do you realize the impact that you're making on the announce team? Because it's not easy to fill the shoes of like a JR or King or any of those guys that really just poured their hearts out to
Oh,
the
trust me. Twitter lets me know every day that I'm not Jerry Lawler or Jim Ross.
And
But
you shouldn't be.
no,
You
of course
should
not.
be you. You should
Right.
be you.
Right.
But, I feel like the fact that you said you were so shy and you even duped the tattoos to keep people away, I'm wondering if life also protected you in a way from maybe if you would have been Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, The Rock, Stone Cold, how it could have made you feel super uncomfortable because
Sure.
of that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a way of looking at it. That would be interesting because I mean the grueling demands of being a top star, it requires a lot of interactions with in places you'd rather not be and people you don't necessarily want to meet, and it's
Yeah.
just there's a lot that comes with it, and I'm kind of I
Because
can
I'm
do that from
sure that Seth is walking down the street and he is getting recognized. People
definitely.
like you said, The Rock, Stone Cold. And so sometimes life does protect us from things that we think we want it so bad, but it's, it's like, no, this isn't going to be so great for you. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know it's hard to absorb it at the time, but I also love what you've been doing at commentary. You're still you. Seems like
I feel like I get to be more Matt as an announcer than as Corey Graves the wrestler,
Yeah.
because you're kind of put in a finite mold where it's like, okay, this is who Corey Graves the character is, or he would never do that, or so you hear a lot of guys go, my character wouldn't do that, which is fine, and a lot of times that's
Right.
why some people become greats, because they know that character inside and out, but they're kind of put in that box. I'm Matt. Like I could turn the volume up. It's cliche, but it gets to be me with the volume cranked to 11. I'm sarcastic. I like to make fun of things. I want to make people laugh. Like that's what really makes me happy. I get enjoyment out of being able to crack Cole on the air. If I can make Michael Cole laugh on the air, I feel like that's definitely a successful joke, because he's such a pro, and he's been doing it. He's seen everything. He's worked with everybody. So for me to just say something ridiculous, half the time the point is just to make him or Renee laugh.
Or Renee mad.
Or Renee, getting her all wound up. And she's I can't say enough good about her. She's genuinely one of my best friends on earth. She referred to herself as one of my top 5 humans the other day. And I was like, yeah, that's not inaccurate. She's up there.
How good has it been to have her, like the first female commentator? Of course, I was applauding that. And she was awesome to have on the show and just work with and all. How awesome has it to have her and to have a female on that panel?
It's fun to have a different perspective. And I always loved Renee. I actually learned a ton from Renee when I first started doing the panels. When she was always the host, and that was kind of unfamiliar territory to me. And I was learning, and so she taught me a lot from that perspective. And having a friend out there, you can't teach that sort of chemistry.
Yeah.
Like Cole and I are really good friends. Tom and I are really close friends. I'm friends with everybody, but to have Renee there, we just have a different relationship. Like, I mean, she is, if I have a problem in life, she's one of the first that knows about it. You know what I mean? Wow. She's not just a work like friend. She kind of is. She is. She's very much like a sister to me. So to be out there and just kind of be able to flow and laugh and react with her is it's awesome. It's just so much fun.
Oh, that makes it great. That made that and the chemistry is coming across beautiful.
Sure. And now I get to sort of help teach her a lot of different things, because commentary versus hosting a panel, 180 degrees different.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people think, oh, you're a talking head. It's the same no matter what you do.
No. Commentary
versus hosting versus ring announcing versus live event hosting. I mean, there's so many different aspects of the business that people don't. They just think, oh, well, you talk about wrestling. I talk about wrestling under the very watchful eye of a 73-year-old billionaire who has a very particular set of rules and ways he likes things done. And I have to try to keep all that intact while also being entertaining.
Right.
Or, at least trying to be entertaining. It's a tough spot. I mean, there's a lot of people. You can ask, a lot of the greats in the business. Mick Foley's notorious for talking about how the hardest thing he ever did in our business was commentary.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that's done everything. So, it's definitely a unique role to be in, and it's thankless, and it's, you get no high fives or thank yous or, wow, you really told that story well.
Yeah.
So you just you're just in it. Like I said, my payoff is getting to make my friends laugh and try to, entertain myself.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing? Well, like, what is the hardest thing you have found about commentating?
When I first started, it was impossible for me to speak when someone was talking in my ear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think that's like a human thing. If you're trying to pay attention and somebody stops, I stop talking.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten to the point where I can be like a half a syllable behind. Like someone is feeding stuff to me and I'm just saying it and sometimes it doesn't work out well because I've repeated things that weren't, I've repeated what I was told, but they weren't necessarily accurate to what I was supposed to be saying.
Right.
Every once in a while I'll say something and I'll, like, as it's coming out of me, this doesn't make any sense. Okay. All right. On to the next thing. Cause I said it.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's not what we meant.
I think that's the thing. I want to make sure that people understand what we're talking about. The main thing when you're commentating, people don't know that when you're wearing the headsets, you're getting fed lines as to, hey, we got a commercial coming up next time, or, coming up right now, or, hey, I want you to say this, or like Vince sometimes will think of something and go, I want you to put this in this match, but you're talking and then you're having to listen at the same time. Now, Corey, I'm going to share a story with you. I totally know what you're talking about because when I was auditioning for this job, they came in and I was doing like backstage interviews, audition, nothing about ring announcing yet. I had a callback. I came back again. I was doing like backstage interviews, mocking, and then they throw me into the commentary booth. Now, at this time, I watched when I was a kid with my dad, but then I fell out of wrestling during school, or high school, college, all of that. So when they put me in the booth for commentating, all of a sudden, I don't know anybody. And it was DX. DX was in there.
Okay.
I didn't know them. I didn't know any of them, right? So I'm putting the headsets on. They're like, we want you to call this match. And I'm thinking, what am I supposed to call this match? Like, I'm literally thinking, I'm supposed to call it a name? Like, what do you mean call a match? So I quickly like, no, whatever you see, you comment on it. So I have somebody else with me and they're talking and I, of course, I don't know the moves either because I didn't come from the wrestling world. So imagine, I don't know who's in the ring. I don't know the moves. So I'm like,
it's a recipe for disaster.
Tights.
Yeah.
The guy with the green tights just fell off the rope. Oh my God, look at what he did, So I'm like, it's a disaster. It really is a disaster. Plus then they're talking to me in the headsets and feeding me lines. And so I stop talking. I'm listening. And then I'm like, wait, am I supposed to repeat that? It was bad.
It's crazy. There's so much.
When I got off the whole thing, when I was done, I was like, well, you're obviously not going to be hiring me to be a commentator. Yeah. So I have so much respect for all of you. I do, because I get it.
It's insane the amount of information that we're processing all the time, because you got the producers in your ear counting you to commercial break. You have to listen to your partners.
Yeah.
And you actually have to have a coherent conversation with them in the middle of a thought. Someone backstage is feeding you an idea or a thought, and it's like, oh my God, it's completely overwhelming at times. My favorite is when Vince decides to do it when you're on camera.
Oh no!
There was.
You think he does it on purpose?
I think sometimes I know he does it to Cole to mess with him. But I remember the first time it happened to me, we were on camera, and I can't remember what the actual information was. But I was speaking. I'm on camera. I knew very particularly what I was supposed to say or where I was going. And he doesn't speak to you a lot, but it's like the voice of God coming in your head.
Yeah.
And I swear you could probably see the panic in my eyes on camera. I think I just stopped in the middle of my sentence and was like, and then I just parroted whatever he said. And I don't think it made any sense, but it was absolutely terrifying. And I'm going, it's one thing when you're not on camera, you can write a note down to yourself or something, but when you're standing there and everything is on you, and then it goes, oh God, what's happening right now? That's a real interesting time.
Yeah. So it's like one of those things. I mean, I still got nervous, even going out there and ring announcing. Even after 15 years, I knew that I was going to be doing these rules and whatever. Do you
Hmm.
still get nervous before going out to a show?
Um, nervous for different reasons. Like I want to make sure that I convey things properly
Yeah.
for the talent. Like I feel like that's my responsibility. As much as I make jokes and make light of situations, sometimes, ultimately, like that's what's going to live on. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that if somebody's out there and just because their WrestleMania moment isn't as important as something else, that's still theirs. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
kind of try to treat it with respect, and add to it as opposed to take away from it. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, you make jokes about so-and-so. That's by design. And in a weird way, usually it's a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
I never do it to make anybody less than or to disrespect them. You know what I mean? I do it for there's so much going on. There's so much content. A lot of times I need it for my own sanity rather than me saying, hey, what a great match this was. I'll say it in a funny backwards way, just to kind of keep it fresh, because I'm like the only guy that calls every minute of TV that we do.
Yeah.
And I challenge you to find anybody else in the company who does that.
Right.
Even the boss or the writers, they'll watch their segments or whatever they're responsible for. I got to sit there through all of it. From
Right.
start to finish, every pay-per-view from the minute we come up on the air until
Because
the closing bell.
Raw and SmackDown. Holy cow.
It's 5 live hours a week, not to mention whatever they throw at me the rest of the time, whether it be pay-per-views. This past week, we just had the Shield Live special in Moline, Illinois.
Yeah.
So that was like an extra hour of live TV that just kind of got tacked on. And I love it. I love being like the workhorse of that team. I love to know that they trust me to play that role. And it's sort of like I'm as busy as I am because they believe in me and they trust me doing what I'm doing. So I take that as a compliment. But sometimes I'm like, man, I wish they'd just find somebody that could be, give me a day off once in a while.
What I don't understand is why you're the only commentator that's on both shows.
I think it's just a matter of my ability to kind of give them what they're looking for.
Are they trying to find somebody at all? Do you know? You don't know. Yeah. Okay.
I know there have been some people. I've heard discussions about things, but that's. And I would never request time off because I feel like that would, I don't want to say I have that much of an impact on the show, but if it lessens the product in any way, I can understand them not wanting to, I was looking shortly before WrestleMania. I'm like, you know what? I might take a week off. I remember talking to Cole and he goes, yeah, dude, you've been going for like 3 years without a week off.
Yeah.
So I was looking at dates and I'm like, well, if I take this off, no, we're in a city that I like. Well, that's the week before the pay-per-view. Well, that's the night after the pay-per-view. I don't want to do that. Well, maybe next week. Well, where's the next pay-per-view? Oh, man, I love that time. So it's like, okay, I'll just keep going. So in theory, I have a week off coming my way. I've been told that. I just,
Yeah. I don't even know if you would know what to do with it.
I don't think so. I'm terrible with downtime. Really? I'm my own worst enemy.
What happens
I go
to you
stir
downtime?
crazy.
Why?
I think. My brain is so overactive that I just think myself into situations that are non-existent. I go stir crazy. I get frustrated and angry, and I think to myself, well, I'm not doing this. Why shouldn't I do that? I should be doing this. Oh my God. Idle hands, devil's
So where does the
playground.
workhorse mentality come from?
Probably from my mom.
Yeah.
Like my dad always worked hard, but my mom has always been, growing up, I never knew her to not be working at least almost full time. She worked midnights. She'd work all night and still come home and get me up and the kids for school and get everybody ready. I also think I have my ability to operate on minimal sleep from my mom. 1,000%. People close to me know, they're like, you're not human. You don't sleep. And it's not that I don't enjoy sleep. I just can function fairly well without it.
When I had Aleister Black on the show, it was very interesting because we talked about his mindset and we talked about the things that go through his mind and sometimes how he just can't shut those voices down. And we spoke about, or he talked about what happened to him early on. His, I think it was his grandfather and his father, they're both in a cult. And I can't remember exactly if it was like at 8. I think it was around 8 years old or 7. But he talked about how he was exposed to that kind of thinking, to the government conspiracy theories, to all of this stuff that then, followed him. And now his mind just races with that.
Yeah.
It's amazing what happens to us early on, things that we witness, things that we, people talk to us early on, and how they imprint themselves for the rest of our lives unless we, break the cycle.
Yeah.
So for you, downtime is meaning what? You don't work hard enough?
No, I don't know. I think that's when I just self-internalize and start paying attention to flaws and imperfections in myself and in my life. I start just thinking. I just go, why isn't this isn't good enough? I need to do this. I need to change that. I need to work on that. My mind never stops. It's just, I need something to focus it on. So at least when I'm working, where I'm at work, I have something to focus on. It's not necessarily that it's good or that it even makes me happy, or it's just my brain never stops. So at least I can go, hey, brain, go here, focus on this thing. You are worried about WWE right now. Because the minute I, sit down on my couch, turn on the baseball game like I've been doing today, I'm going, well, I got to call someone. I got to text somebody. I need to be doing something. I should email somebody. I'm working on a release. I just did a collaboration with the clothing line called Fatal out of California. So I'm like, I got to email them. I got to do something on social media. It's just like, there's always something I feel like I need to be doing. I just don't do well with downtime.
Yeah. It's wild. I can attribute that. I'm a very go, do person. I can attribute it, though, as I studied, I was like, why can't I just sit and watch a movie? Like if I go to a movie theater, I can do that.
Sure.
But at home, I have to be doing taxes or filling out something while I'm watching a movie. But I can attribute it to when I was, I think I was 5 years old. This was in kindergarten, where they gave the report cards and it was satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So you got a U or an S. I got perfect S's except for one U. And when I looked at it, it said for making good use of time. Now, for a 5-year-old to get told that she's not making good use of time,
right?
I don't know what that meant, but I know that I turned that into, I must fill my day all day long with something to do because that's making good use of time.
Yeah.
So I turned it into, if I watch a movie, that's not making good use of time. Therefore, you're unsatisfactory. So that has plagued me my entire life thus far. And even though I recognize it, I still have to go, okay, Lil, that does not mean that's unsatisfactory.
Right.
Do you remember a moment at all that attributed to, or just watching?
No, I think probably watching my mom, it's
the
sort
habit,
of inherent. Yeah. It wasn't necessarily like an occurrence or an event that in theory, I love the idea of having like time off or time to not do anything. But when I actually have it, I got up this morning and I went to the gym and I went and did this and did that, ran errands and went to lunch. And my friend's actually sitting here. He texted me. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, come eat me some food. And I went, I got to go do this podcast thing. And I'm terrible at planning. As much as I am a workhorse and I need to go.
Yeah.
I am the worst planner in the history of mankind. I'm reactionary to everything. And it's like, got to fix that. Got to do this. Got to do that. But,
that's kind of like when I told you about, hey, what's your email address? And you're like, thank God you told me.
I totally forgot. I ended up doing, I got a call from some magazine to do an interview about something completely unrelated at like 2:00, just out of the blue. And I was like, this worked out great. Yeah. I knocked that out and I'm like, I actually feel like today's been sort of productive. So this is good. This is what I need, because if I'd have just sat here on the couch, like yesterday, I got in from the flight, went and got a haircut and came home, and I was in bed by about 7:30 because I was just like burned out and tired, and I felt like I didn't want to do anything. So I had to overcompensate today.
So isn't that wild? People think you're living this like amazing life and that everything's so great, and they don't realize that sometimes just what's going on in your mind is driving you crazy at times.
Absolutely. I've battled depression, like some pretty severe depression for the past, few years.
Really?
Like very severe. Yeah. I've gone to doctors and had different treatments and this, that, and the other thing. So that's always something that I think me staying busy kind of keeps that bubbling below the surface, and it doesn't really rear its head until I have downtime. that's really when I'm at my worst. So I think that's part of the reason why I stay as busy as I do, is just go, go, go. Because
Do they recommend that? Did the doctors recommend you staying busy?
no,
What do they
doctors,
say?
I've been told 50 million different things, none of which have solved the problem.
Yeah.
I've gotten really into meditation lately, which has helped tremendously.
Yes, I agree.
Just because I lack the ability to quiet my own mind.
Yeah.
It's always go, go, go. And usually, it'll take a negative turn. So I've been working a lot, and that's cool because it's something to work at. You get better at meditation.
Yeah.
What I mean? And so I've been doing that pretty regularly. Lately, my schedule's been so crazy. I don't even seem like I have 10 minutes to knock that out. But
Right.
that's been pretty big to me, just to kind of like let everything go even for 10 or 15 minutes, to just kind of like, just let everything be. Just stop trying to control things, stop trying to fix things, just sit for like 15 minutes. And it's like, okay, guess what? You did that for 15 minutes and you didn't die, and the world didn't fall apart.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, it's a training process, but
because we're
that's been
constantly
really big
thinking that survival is on the line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of decisions that we make because our perception is off, and we think everything is survival is on the line, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. I'm so glad that you talked about depression, because so many people suffer from depression. They don't know what to do with it.
And it's so hard to treat, because it's different for everybody, from case to case. It's not just like, oh, you're in a bad mood, here, take this. I took medication for a couple of years, and in the short term, I think it helped. And since I started the meditation, I haven't taken anything in several months now.
Wow.
And I would say I'm in a much more clear headspace than I was when I was taking the stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been doing, listening to, I'm big into Russell Brand right now. I think he's doing some pretty cool things in his whole journey of awakening and whatnot.
Yes.
So that between his podcasts and then there's like Joe Rogan, I think Rogan is kind of like my best case scenario. I could be Joe Rogan, because he never stops. He does his podcast, and he goes out hunting, and then he goes and tries this new thing. And it's just like always go, 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 go. And that's kind of like what I aspire to be, is because he just handles everything his way. And then you've got the polar opposite, Russell Brand, teaching you to like, just slow down, man. Just like let it be. So gotta find that happy balance.
Well, that's the thing, is everything is balance. Absolutely. I want to bring this up because it helps me to transition into something I want to talk to you. And this has been fascinating. And I really appreciate you being as open as you are, because I know that you've been criticized, online, and we'll talk about that. It's just, to me, it's ridiculous, because people don't live in your shoes. They don't know you. Right.
Correct. But people also this day and age are very, very quick to believe something to be truth just because it was written on the internet.
You got it.
So
you got it. And I want to talk about that for sure. I want to give you that platform for sure, to give you that platform. Because we're talking about depression. So I had suffered from depression, and sure enough, I was going through therapy, and they gave me depression medication, because I feel like that's the only thing they know to do. So I was taking that, and side effects would not allow me to continue. It was not good. And lo and behold, if it was that basically I was married to the wrong man, and I figured it out, and I was unhappy in my marriage, and I saw my parents be unhappy in their marriage, their entire marriage, which really saddened me. And they didn't want to leave their marriage because of my sister and I. They felt like they were doing the right thing by staying married. Yet my sister and I were like, please, can you guys just divorce? Because we can't stand if it's not full of love, you can tell. A kid can tell. Kids can tell everything, right? And if the environment is not a love environment, and sometimes, like with my husband and I, we just weren't right for each other. So I finally let that go. And when I let that go, the depression was gone. It was just my situation. Now, I'm not saying that, with you,
but there's definitely an element of truth to that. But to your point about with the kids, I think we would both admit that was probably why we stayed together longer than we should have, just because of the kids, because you don't want to throw that upside down. But my kids have, especially my oldest, has said to me, Dad, the time we get to spend with you now is more quality time than, they see me roughly the same amount. I mean, just between my WWE schedule and you just have to get creative once in a while. So I still, and luckily they've all kind of grown up with me being on the road. So it's not really unfamiliar to them. But now I feel like when I have my kids, I just it's got to be like the best possible quality time. Like it's always doing something. We're going to go find a carnival or go to a movie, or even if, whereas when I was, back living at that house, it was just kind of like, I wanted to lock myself away from everything. And it was like, oh, hey, yeah, you can come watch TV with me. But it wasn't, I wasn't being as good of a dad as I should have been, you know what I mean? Because I was dealing with my own stuff.
Right.
And so I feel like now I have, my life's in a much different place. So I think it allows me to be a better father and dad for them than I was before.
And they're going to definitely be in a better space for that. Cause I remember my parents yelling at each other so much that I would run into the closet and hide in there. So anytime adversity comes my way, all I want to do is this.
Sure.
Hide and cringe. And so it does affect an environment when you don't have that. So I love that you guys just said, look, this is what we got to do to make this happen. And I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Oh, it was horrible. It sucked.
Divorce
anyone,
is awful.
I was going to say, it's literally,
it's awful.
It's horrible. And
you don't get married to go, I can't wait to get a divorce.
Yeah. It's horrible. It's absolute. Anyone that's been through it will tell you it's not a fun time. People get angry, people get emotional. It's a really awful thing. But, in the end, I think it's better for everybody involved.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, even if you look at it from the kids' perspective, now they've got two happy parents, in separate places, but they're both, I'm doing better on my own. I think she's doing great on her own. She seems to be. That's it. I mean, that's the best case scenario, right? Just let it be, just move on, move forward. Everyone's moving forward. And it's a interesting chapter of life.
It is. It's another chapter. And here you are in the middle of being on air and everything. Your life is playing out in front of the world and on the internet.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say people's assumption of my life.
Okay. So let's set the story straight. I would love
the story that made the rounds without paying it any mind. It was not accurate. It was made out of anger and emotion.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what it looked like. I'd been out of the house, living on my own for quite some time before that whole situation.
Right.
It was a sexy story that people went, oh my God, let's talk about what a piece of crap this guy is. It was angry and emotional, and it's been apologized for on both ends. It was.
Oh, well, that's good.
It's moved forward.
But unfortunately, some things, when people put some stuff out there, not everybody hears the apology. And so,
of course, exactly. And that's
real.
So,
but you know what? I totally identify with you, because when I got divorced, I didn't tell anybody for 6 months. No. Nobody at WWE knew. You're in WWE. I was so sad that I couldn't even, even though it was my choice, I was so sad. And so I was like, I can't tell anyone because I can't talk about this. I can't deal with it. And so when I did move on, I could see some people going, wait, I thought you were in. I'm like, no, we've been divorced for a while, but I just didn't want to say anything. Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Like, I didn't think it was anybody's business other than my own.
Yeah. Especially because
those closest to me knew, my small group of friends and even a few beyond knew what I was going through for a long time, even before the actual, process started.
Right.
So that's why I just that's what I get for playing my cards close to the vest. The internet's grab a hold and ran with it. It is what it is, though. It blew by. The storm's over. You know what I mean? Everyone's moved on, and it's,
Are you happy
it's in
now?
the past.
Are you happy now?
I'm as happy as I've been in a very long time.
I'm so glad to hear that. Because I'm
very tired, but happy. Happy.
I'm sure. Look, for your own health, you're gonna have to find the balance.
Right.
It all comes down to that.
I'm gonna just run it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I love that you're meditating. I don't know if you're doing any guided meditations. Those are.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know some people think that meditating, you just have to shut everything off and sit in silence or sit with just music and then close your mind and don't think. And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody start with guided meditation, because then you can focus on exactly what is being asked of you.
Yep.
Start that way for sure.
Yeah, I've been focusing a lot on that. Like as I said, my schedule's been so crazy. I haven't been, I had a streak going. I was like 49 days straight of meditation, and because it keeps tracking the app that I use.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And it kind of became a game. I was like, oh man, I got to make time today. I can't break my streak. And then WrestleMania week happens, and you barely have time to blink, let alone sit down and meditate. But so I'm getting back after it, working on that.
Awesome.
But that's been major. That's gotten me through a lot of the stresses I've dealt with recently. But the cool thing about stress is it goes away and you can just keep moving forward,
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. I always love to finish with a question. I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is going to be, but has your chase for glory looked the way you thought it was going to look?
Absolutely not. I don't think my career path could have looked any different for where I'm ending up right now, but it's taken some time to get to this point mentally where I've accepted it and I've grown into it, and I'm starting to think that maybe this is what I was supposed to do all along. I'm not a big believer in fate, but I feel like I'm probably adding more to this business that I love and I've always loved in the role that I am now, as opposed to getting beat up and I would have loved to have been the Intercontinental Champion someday. Don't get me wrong, but I think all in all, I'm going to have a stronger legacy doing what I'm doing now than I probably would have as a competitor.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you are helping people out there with the story that their dream has come to a specific halt and now they got to look to the other direction.
Let's just be open to anything, any opportunity that comes your way. That's all you can do. That's my only advice in that realm. You know what I mean? Keep some people close to you. Make sure you have a support group, because no one can do it alone.
Right.
Because if it weren't for even my ex-wife, she at the time she bailed me through some dark times. I mean, she definitely was there, and a certain number of very, very close friends that I had. I still have to this day, but if it weren't for them at that time, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it through the way I did. And with any sort of major crisis that may arise, surprisingly, out of nowhere, it's always good to have people close to you that know the real you and what you're about, and that can remind you of who you are.
Yeah. Well, I always say you have to have people around you, because we are in this life together. No one has a map. We have not been given directions, and we got to help each other, because everyone's got a different path and something different that helps them, that happens to them. But if we really do help each other and build each other up instead of tearing each other down, especially if you don't know people, do not get on the internet and start asking people you've not walked in their shoes. Like, I would say, grow up. Lead with love. Always lead with love.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right?
Yeah, right. I know where that comes from. Oh, well, the best to you, Corey. Thank you so much for being on Chasing Glory. Really
Thank you.
Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
You see, this is why I love doing the show. I did not know all of this information about Corey Graves and what he had been through in his life and what he battles. And I love him for being so open and being so vulnerable and letting us in, because I know that there's a lot of you out there that have suffered from depression, or you're still suffering, and you always wonder, are you alone? No, you're not alone. And like I said, I wanted to talk about how depression hit me at a certain time in my life. And it was when I switched my situation that I was in that I was able to get out of depression. So sometimes it's not like it's a mental thing. For example, like I said, they gave me all this medication. I didn't need the medication. I just needed to change my circumstances. So sometimes if you're battling depression and you think, wow, I guess I just have this. No, look at your circumstances. Your circumstance, your surroundings, all of that kind of bringing you down. Is it not in alignment with what you want out of life and who you are? make that change first and then see if it's still there. So, Corey, thank you. Man, you're awesome. I really think you're awesome. And I really appreciate too, the lesson in the fact that when that door closed for you to wrestle, how you were able to find something else out. It's like you and Paige are huge inspirations for that. And again, just really want to thank you for joining us here on Chasing Glory. Okay, guys, remember to spread the word. Tell people about this. Some of your friends or maybe are going through depression. Let them know to listen to this episode. It helps when we all know that we're not alone battling different things. We're in this life together, so let's help each other out. And thank you again for following the show at Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram, following me at Lilian Garcia with one L in the middle on Instagram and Twitter, Lilian Garcia official fan page on Facebook, and also LilianGarcia.com. And don't forget to get your cameos in if you want a shout out from me for yourself or one of your friends or something. Just go to cameo.com/Lilian Garcia and you can put your request in. All right. So, like I said, this week, a lot's going on. Can't wait to make this announcement so I can actually talk about it. So obviously I'm going to be talking about it next week on my show. But for now, have a great week. Go out there and live with much peace, love, and passion. And remember to always be yourself and trust that it's enough. I love you dearly. Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks for joining us here on Chasing Glory from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends and be sure to subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.